patch of moss and this clump of heather have lain, ancestrally speaking, undisturbed in the same spot for many centuries. So has this entire area. It's lowland bog, or peat as gardeners know it, and therein lies part of the problem. When early settlers came to this land, they found it swampy, wet and uninvitingly muddy. They could not turn the soil to grow crops, they couldn't plant trees, and the deep mires made it dangerous for livestock. The bog was left to develop naturally year after year after year. But then it was discovered that peat made an excellent growth stimulant for potting plants, and tons of it were cut up and sold to gardeners around the world. Now, only a few pockets remain here in the UK, and this is one of them. But why save this particular habitat from the suburban cultivation of tulips and pansies? The answer is obvious to any naturalist worth his salt. This is a unique ecosystem. It's found virtually nowhere else, and it attracts wildlife in abundance. That, in turn, attracts visitors, which no doubt it did in centuries gone by. But now, as then, there is one particular animal here that strikes not love in the hearts and minds of some, but fear. There are more enigmatic creatures than foxes and badgers in the deep marshes of the country. What a beautiful animal. This is, of course, the famous adder, European viper. They're a beautiful coloured snake. They're sexually dimorphic, which means I can tell if it's a boy or a girl just by looking at the colour of its skin. This one is very obviously a boy. They are a little bit smaller, the males, than the females. But I can tell he's a boy because he's got this silver grey, almost yellowy coloration, aside from the black, of course. Females don't have that. The females have a reddy brown coloration between the black zigzags. What these guys have actually got are two independently moving hypodermic needles in the front of their mouth, their fangs. Relatively small venom glands, but they can still pack enough of a punch to kill a frog, maybe a newt, especially other reptiles like lizards and things which also live out on the bog here. Now the reason that these guys are so successful, because they're one of the most successful snakes in Europe, is because of that venom. That venom breaks down the prey after it's been bitten. Now the reason that reptiles can't traditionally live in very cold climates, I mean these guys live into the Arctic Circle, is because they can't break down their food, they can't digest their food, they can't really get a meal. It's very difficult for them being a cold-blooded animal. So what these guys do is they inject their prey, that venom goes into the prey whilst it runs off after being struck. It then internally digests the prey victim, giving the snake a head start on the digestion of the meal. It's a fantastic system and it works really well. This guy is one of the most successful reptiles on the face of the earth. You can see he's just sitting here out in the sun, enjoying the sun like I am. There's no need to be afraid or alarmed or be repulsed by this animal. It's wonderful. Of course, the thing about snakes is they can't hear you, which some may think, well, surely that makes them really easy to tread on. Well, of course, as many of us know, That's not the case at all. They're very hard to find when you're just walking about. The reason being they have internal ears, which means they feel vibrations rather than hear sound. So it's very hard to sneak up on these guys, and when you're walking through their environment, they've got a heck of a head start on you in terms of knowing where you are. Beautiful.